Today, we're talking about idea generation. More specifically, how you can overcome writer's block once and for all. When I first started writing, I really sucked when it came to writer's block. I found it very hard to actually find something to write about, and whenever I sat down to write something new, my mind was just blank. I had no idea what to write. But the truth is, overcoming writer's block and coming up with ideas is actually very easy. And it all starts with just one simple mental shift. By the end of this video, I promise that you'll no longer feel lost when you sit down to write something new. Instead of dreading that horrible blank page, you'll know exactly what to fill it up with. I've studied hundreds of top writers all across social media, and they all use this exact same technique I'm going to show you today. After you've watched this, you'll be able to do the exact same thing. The insight I'm going to reveal to you is literally responsible for billions of views. And don't worry, because it's not going to stop working anytime soon. But before we begin, why should you listen to me? If you're new here, my name's Godfrey. I've written over 640 plus articles on Medium over the past 2 years. I've become a top 1% writer on that platform in particular. I've had millions of views as well as gained 27,000 followers over that time. Not to mention I've actually made some money doing this. So I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to coming up with ideas to write about. So with that out of the way, let's dive in. First things first, I want to ask you a simple question, and it's this. What is an idea? Now, I understand if you think this is a silly question, but I'm not joking. Like, this isn't anything trivial. Actually ask yourself, what is an idea? Is an idea something you can touch, taste, smell? Well, no. Is it something that you see in your day-to-day life? Not really. I mean, we see things that were once ideas, but once they're made, they're no longer ideas. The truth is, an idea is just potential. Having a good idea doesn't mean anything. What matters and what you get rewarded for is your ability to bring that idea to life, to turn mere potential into something tangible. So how does this apply to your writing? Needless to say, there have been tons of ideas written down. Some have been good, some have been bad, while others have completely changed the world. Now tell me, how many of these ideas do you think were completely unique? If you said all of them, you're wrong. If you said none of them, you're also wrong. The truth is, all ideas come from somewhere else and aren't owned by anyone. Sure, Marx may be accredited for coming up with communism, but I guarantee that there was someone else before him who also thought of something similar to communism. The reason Marx gets credited for being the father of communism is because he actually wrote the idea down and turned it into something tangible. The same goes for Steve Jobs and the iPhone. But was the idea for a smartphone unique? No. Smartphones existed before the iPhone. In much the same way as political ideologies shared similarities with communism before Marx ever wrote about it. Why? Because no one owns an idea. Remember, ideas aren't anything tangible. You can't own them. You can't sell an idea like you can sell a house. You can't go on Amazon and buy an idea. Ideas are freely available at all times to all people. This is why anyone who ever complains about someone stealing their idea is deluded. You can't own an idea. And we should be very thankful for that. Imagine how awful the world would be if ideas could actually be owned. Oh no, you can't do that because John in Kentucky did it 20 years ago. No, you can't do that. That belongs to Taylor. You can't do that. You can't write that. That's been written about before. It would be awful. It would be terrible. But thankfully, that's not the world we live in. And by extension, there is no such thing as an original idea. If you don't believe me, let me prove it to you right now. Do me a favor and think of every single person in the world. You doing it? Okay. Now, think of every single person in the world as well as every single person that ever lived. Out of all those people, do you really think any of them had a single original idea? It's impossible. There's no way out of every single person who's ever existed in the history of infinity that one person will have had a genuine thought, a genuine idea that no one else had. Ideas are free-flowing. Ideas flood into the minds of anyone and everyone at a moment's notice. The idea itself is not important. It's the execution behind the idea. It's being able to take that idea that came to you and create something tangible out of it. The idea isn't what's important. It's the execution. For example, I guarantee that loads of people would have had the idea for a story about a robot coming from the future to kill an ignorant victim. In fact, I'm sure millions of people have had that idea at one point in their lives. But guess what? They don't get credited for that. James Cameron gets credited for it. Why? Because he was the one who actually took that idea and created the Terminator. But if James Cameron created the Terminator, does that mean other robot films are off limits? Does that mean I, Robot can't be made? Does that mean Blade Runner can't be made? No, obviously not. Oh, well, the Terminator came back from the future. Does that mean time travel is off limits? Of course not. Now, let's take this a step further and look at content, because I think this is the biggest thing that holds most people back from starting. Maybe it's even holding you back. I don't know. So, if you're watching this, you're probably watching it on YouTube, correct? So after you're done watching this video, do me a favor and just go onto the YouTube search bar and type in something like fitness tips. When you click enter, you'll be met with loads of videos all giving fitness tips. And if you were to watch all of those videos, you would find quite a lot of the same pieces of advice being relayed to you. But does this mean that everyone's stealing each other's ideas? Well, no, because I've already said you can't steal an idea. What's more likely is that people are just sharing the advice that worked for them to get a specific result, and they're sharing it with their audience. Think of it like an advice pyramid scheme. People are giving advice they received from someone else, who received advice from someone else, and etc., 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 goes on forever. In essence, when you look up fitness tips, the good ideas spread like parasites, while the bad ones get squashed out. Now, thanks to the infinite scale of the internet, ideas which were once unanimously considered bad suddenly experienced a resurgence. After the Second World War, fascism was completely discredited as a political ideology. If you wanted to win an election in a Western democracy, there's no way you could ever do it as a fascist, because it was a bad idea that got squashed out relative to Western liberalism. Today, although fascism is still very fringe, it has a much louder voice than it did in, say, the 1970s. Why? Because the internet doesn't discriminate. It allows for both bad ideas and good ideas to spread. But because the majority of people are mostly concerned with good ideas on how to improve their lives, the good ideas on the internet spread like wildfire in a way that was impossible before. Let's look at making money as an example. Before the internet, learning about things like business was completely impossible. In the past, if you wanted to become rich, you'd have to be born to rich parents. That is how most people became rich. Sure, some people were able to rise from dire poverty and become extremely wealthy, but these were the outliers. These were exceptional people. This is not what most people were able to do. Most people who were born in poverty died in poverty. Not because they weren't capable of making money, but because they just weren't exposed to the right information, the right good ideas. It wasn't even in their awareness. This isn't the case anymore. Anyone with an internet connection can go on YouTube and learn about anything they want. If they want to learn the basics of business, they can do it all in an afternoon. Good advice and good ideas on how to make money is freely available. But this wouldn't be possible if people were protective over their ideas. In fact, the only way you can have these conditions is by allowing ideas to flow freely. Now, this next bit might sound a little bit confusing, but just bear with me. What you're really doing when you post or share a good idea is a lot bigger than just growing your follower count or making more money. You're actually expanding consciousness. The more good ideas you share, the more people you help, the more consciousness rises. And don't let the word consciousness turn you off. You could call it intelligence, you could call it awareness, or whatever you prefer. The point is, Spreading good ideas is what helps everyone rise up as a whole. And therefore, not sharing ideas because you're protective or selfish is limiting the expansion of consciousness. Not only are you robbing yourself of material gains, you're also putting a cap on human consciousness. So, now that I've got the spiritual stuff out of the way, let's get a bit more practical. How can you actually use this to start coming up with ideas of your own to write about? The answer is so simple. You don't come up with any, because all of the ideas are already in front of you. They're all right there. Every topic you're obsessed with, every subject you can't stop studying, every film you love, every album you listen to, every piece of poetry that you read, every book that you can't put down. Every single one of these things is packed with ideas that you can use and create content about. None of it is off limits. Absolutely everything can be written about. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're really into self-improvement content, and maybe your favorite guy is Mark Manson. So, let's say Mark Manson wrote a post or made a video about the benefits of meditation. You could then listen to his advice about meditation, try it for yourself, and then write content about your experience of meditation. Was he right? Did you experience the benefits? Or did you think it was a complete waste of time? Either way, you can take something that already exists, put your own spin on it, and create something completely new with your own voice. The point is, one subject written by one person can be written about in a billion other different ways. Why? Because the Earth is home to billions of minds with different perspectives, different interests, different experiences, and they can all turn something that's already established into something new, simply by sharing their own experience with it. The sooner you lean into the things that really interest you, the faster you'll be able to come up with ideas to write about. To make this even more concrete for yourself, take a note of these things. 1. What patterns can you find in your YouTube watch history? What are the channels you watch just like a crack addict? What subjects are you fascinated with? What kind of topics do you just watch all the time and can't get enough of? 2. What books are on your bookshelf? What are your favorite books? What kind of subjects do you like to read about? Who are your favorite authors? If you don't read physical books, do the exact same thing but with Audible. What books do you like to listen to? Do you have a favorite genre? Have you listened to hours worth of books on philosophy, psychology, finance, business? If so, take a note of it. 3. What are your favorite movies of all time? What stories are you attracted to? What movies do you watch over and over again and never get bored of? 4. What music do you listen to? Are there albums that you've been listening to for years and know by heart? Why is it you like that album over other pieces of music? What is it about the music? What is it about the themes, the lyrics, the personalities behind the art? What does the music evoke within you emotionally? 5. What content do you find yourself reading the most? Whether it be on LinkedIn, Twitter, your favorite blog post, Medium, Substack, your favorite newsletter. These are just some good starting points for you to dial in on what you're interested in. Once you've found them, just start writing about them. Don't let this false notion of ideas impact what you write. No one owns an idea, okay? An idea that comes to you is just as much yours as anybody else who has it. Don't worry about a niche and don't limit yourself either. All you have to do is find an idea that you love and write about it. It's honestly that simple. And the more you do this, the better you'll become at it. Once you get good at taking ideas that you love and turning them into your own, you won't be able to stop doing it. You'll become a content creation machine. Now, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not telling you to plagiarize. Like, if you watch this video, I'm going to assume you're quite intelligent. I'm not telling you to plagiarize. I'm not telling you to steal. I'm telling you to create. I'm telling you to share your story. I'm telling you to engage with the ideas that you love, with the subjects you're fascinated with. If you do this properly and really master your creative process, the world is your oyster. A final thing I'll say is, don't try and create anything perfect. Nothing has to be perfect, especially if you're just starting. All that matters right now is that you become comfortable writing about ideas you love. Don't worry about the perfection aspect, that can come later. If you want to learn how to start writing about the ideas you love in a compelling way that attracts readers to your work and keeps them wanting more, click the first link in the description and get my completely free Magnetic Writing Guide. It'll teach you how to write like the best writers online. And if you like this video, I'm sure you'll like this next one where I discuss one of the fastest ways to improve your writing. I'll see you there.